Danmirr Consultants and Professional Advice Bureau present Achievers.
We all dream of fame and success, but not all our dreams come true. What makes our achievers' dreams come true? Our achiever today is criminal lawyer Ritu Sethi, a lethal combination of beauty with brains and a jack of many trades. Let's talk to Ritu today. Welcome to the show, Ritu.
Thank you, thank you.
Please take a seat. Ritu, you are a real trailblazer with numerous awards to your names. The Judiciary Award, the Jewel Award, the Asian Businesswoman of the Year Award, First Woman of Achievement Award, the Asian Business Owner of the Year Award. Truly a true achiever. How do you manage to have beauty and brains, a rare combination?
I think I'm blessed by God.
Really?
What else can I say? Yeah, I mean, it's all hard work, plus a bit of luck, plus blessings from everyone I come in contact with. So I think it's a bit of everything.
Couldn't be just blessings, Ritu. You work too hard.
I'd
ask the whole world, bless us, if it could just be blessings.
I think everyone works hard. It's also finding the opportunities and having the support. Where I'm concerned, it all started 20 years ago when there were hardly any women lawyers entering the profession. And when I did set up Sethi Partnerships Solicitors 20 years ago, it was one of the first Asian women-run practices. All the people I'd studied law with, they either went into the city, worked very long hours and did very well, or they became housewives or went into part-time jobs. So what I did was find something that I can actually work near home, set up my own practice and work around the children. And touch wood, it just grew from strength to strength and became quite an iconic and successful practice.
But what I find very different about you,
Yes.
there are lots of women who've done extremely well in their particular career, but you're a jack of many trades. I was amazed when I was reading your biography. You're a criminal lawyer,
Yes.
You're a motivational speaker, you're a fitness instructor, you're a trained beautician. I mean, you even had your own television talk show.
Yes.
How do you manage to fill all these roles?
Well, they weren't all at the same time. So whilst it might sound like, I don't have time to breathe, these have been done over a period of time. And what happens is that, I suppose like any achiever, you always feel you've underaccomplished. So there's always a next thing that you're looking to do. So when I went into, for instance, when I became a criminal lawyer, I was, and I still am, at police stations and courts and defending people. That's what I do. That's what I do best. And that's basically my profession and the practice that I run. But the fitness instructing, for instance, was about 6 years ago. I decided I wanted to focus on my fitness. So I took 6 months out of the practice, and I have people who run it, and there's about 25, 30 of us in the practice. So it wasn't such a big deal. I've got managers and I've got people in place, and a very good junior partner. But then I took 6 months out and went and did a YMCA course, and I was probably one of the eldest there, because there were a lot of young, sort of 18, 19-year-olds doing the YMCA fitness instructing course.
But do people think, Ritu, hang on, what's happening here?
Well,
you've already accomplished so much. Fitness training doesn't really fit with the legal profession.
Yeah, but it's always been a hobby. I've always been a member of a gym, whether I've used it or not. I've always trained. So it is something that comes very naturally. I did the moonwalk, which is it's a 13-mile walk for breast cancer here in the city, And I've signed up for it again this year. So we're back onto the training regime of trying to build up to either 13 miles or 26 miles. And there's a group of us doing it. So my husband's training with me, and he too will be walking 26 miles through central London at midnight.
Oh, wow.
In May. It's for breast cancer.
But it is unique, Ritu, because, you know, a lot of people, when they are, you know, doing very well in their chosen career, may that be medicine or may that be business, you know, they give up on a lot of other things, like their other interests in life, because they're so focused on their career. Whereas you have managed to do extremely well in your career, yet not give up on the other activities that you were fond of, like, you know, beauty training for example, or you're also a motivational speaker.
Yes.
So you've kind of kept an amazing balance. How have you managed to keep that?
Well, the beauty therapy I did early on, when I've always been interested in beauty and fitness. I suppose they go hand in hand, just in looking good. So that was very
great, by the way.
Oh, thank you to the makeup artist. So that goes hand in hand. But then the motivational speaking really came about when I won the awards, and then I was asked to come on to programs, to come on to seminars, to come on to the London Mayor's Conference, the International Women's Conference, and speak in front of 2,000 women to motivate women to go into their chosen career. It wasn't all about, well, we're staying at home and we can't do anything else. By just going and talking and telling them, ask my story, that I'm a mother, I'm a wife, but that never stopped me from achieving.
You became a role model.
I became a role model, and after a lot of my speaks and talks, I was asked to sign autographs and things, which I was absolutely gobsmacked, and so were my kids, you know.
Yeah. Now, when you were young, you were 3 girls.
Yes.
And your parents were very focused on your education.
Absolutely, they were teachers. My father and mother were both teachers in Kisumu. In my father, Mr. Bernot, very well-known teacher in Kisumu and in this country. So education was really fundamental, you know. 3 girls, and I have a brother as well who's older to me.
Yes.
And I was born in Kenya, and they were both teachers there. Then when we came to this country, it was really primary focus for my parents was because of the education system here that we came. But education was really fundamental. And by the time I was 16, I went to a grammar school, Ilford County Girls Grammar School in Ilford, or Gants Hill. When I was 16, I decided I didn't want to carry on education.
Really?
So I wanted
that must
to
have been a shock to your father.
I wanted to join the army. So we had, this is my 16-year-old rebellious nature, and my father said, you can join the army anytime you want, but first get an education. So I really did begrudge the fact that I had to do my O-levels, those days, GCSEs now, A-levels, and had to go to university before I could go join the army.
Now, talking about your career as a criminal lawyer, why did you choose this particular field? Because it's a bit of a gory field, and one would have thought that, you know, women don't generally tend to go towards criminal law. I mean, was it a bit disturbing?
I was probably one of the earlier women, Asian women, to be criminal lawyers. Now there's a whole dearth of them. But 20 years ago, especially where I practice, I'm in Harrow, but I also practice at Heathrow Airport for drug importation cases, and then at Acton, Southall, Harrow, and then it used to be Watford. Watford was a very English area when I first started practicing there. And they hadn't actually seen an Indian woman come to the courts to defend anyone. And there was one really harrowing story where I had to defend someone I hadn't met. He'd come from the prison. I was a duty solicitor, which means you turn up, you don't know the person, you're just there to defend them for the day.
What was he in prison for?
He was in prison for assault and sexual offences.
Oh, God.
Pretty notorious criminal that I didn't know, but I had to go down and see him in the cells.
So you basically had to see the dark side of human nature.
Which I did every day. But this particular time, they put me in the cell to take instructions because they're always confidential. They shut the door and went upstairs and left me in the cell with this chap I didn't know how dangerous he was.
When you mean in the cell, you mean he was inside the cell and you were outside?
No, inside the cell.
And did he
the
have
door was
handcuffs
locked.
on?
No, he was sitting there so I could take instructions. This is a long time ago, and the police officers went upstairs and locked the door and went.
You're kidding me.
Absolutely, and then I had to ring the buzzer, and when I'd finished the meeting, and I was getting nervous, and I kept ringing and ringing, and no one was coming down. And I had this brick phone then, the mobile phone, you know, those huge ones. The big ones. So I rang the police station, got the reception, and I said, I'm here in the cells, can someone come and unlock the door?
And he must have sensed that discomfort.
Oh, he sensed it. I sensed it. This is why I remember it so well, you know. And they finally came down, and the officer opened the door, and he said, this is why we don't have women defense lawyers, because you are an occupational hazard to us. Can you imagine that?
What a creep.
Now can you imagine? So many women are in the profession of defending criminals. In fact, you know, sometimes you'd go to some of the courts and, you know, the prosecutor will be a woman, the defense lawyer is a woman, the magistrate's a woman, and, you know, sometimes the prison guards are women. And it just makes me think, sometimes I just stop and think how things have changed.
But did that make you uncomfortable on a daily, everyday life? You were seeing people and you were seeing their very dark side. Some things must have been extremely disturbing.
Well, I acted for a lot of people who'd committed murder. But
you take that home with you? I mean, it's a lot.
I used to. Maybe the first couple of murder cases, and I'll discuss it and things. But then you almost develop some kind of, you know, barrier to it, that you have a professional life, and then you have a other life, a home life, a social life, you know, of a mother and sort of a wife, and they don't really want to hear about your gory cases.
No.
They'll know what I learned from the cases, but I wouldn't necessarily go in and tell them the whole thing. And also, you also see the good side of human nature in possibly people who have committed crime. It doesn't mean because they've committed crime they're a bad person. You actually see the good in these people, and you see the desperation in them, that they also need to be defended. And I think I went into being a criminal defense lawyer because of this need to make a difference, to change people, to help people. It's all from coming from a position of what can I do to help this person no matter what they've done.
So also, Ritu, you know, you're described as someone who's completely unfazed by problems. Is it fair to say you have nerves of steel?
I suppose you have to. You have to survive as a lawyer and take on everyone's problems on my shoulders.
So what's your strength?
If I crumble, what will my clients do? You know? I have to be there for them and my friends and my family. So yes, nerves of steel.
Your colleagues do describe you as, you know, no matter what happens, Ritu will pull through it.
Yes.
You know, you don't let yourself go down.
No, I think I thrive on challenges.
Okay, and what would you call your biggest strength?
My family, my husband and my 2 children. Without them, there is no strength.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Ritu, we're going to take a short break and ask you some more very interesting questions.
Okay.
We'll see you shortly after the break.
If you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those 2 imposters just the same, they need a clear plan to what they want to do, and they need it badly enough to do it. So that I've made a difference to even one person in the audience. Execution.
Danmirr Consultants present Achievers.
Welcome back. Our guest today is Ritu Sethi, and we're going to talk to her about her story to success. So Ritu, one very important question that I'm sure women want to know. It's commonly said or assumed that for a successful woman, you're either going to be divorced or you're going to have an extremely supportive husband. Do you think that assumption is true?
I think it's true.
Because there's no middle ground, is there?
There's no middle ground because no one will put up with it.
Exactly.
And why should we put up with it? You work hard, so you want to have a happy life. That's what it's all about.
So, Ritu, obviously your career progressed and you've done so well. Did your husband ever feel intimidated by your success at all?
I think it's probably a question he would answer better. Really? I don't know. I wouldn't think so, because if I've ever said I want to do something, he has gone out of his way to make sure I can do it. So it's never been no, don't do that. It's always been a yes before a no.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
What's the secret to that? Please tell everyone.
Secret
like
is
to apply
probably,
the same formula.
I suppose the secret is because if he wants to do anything such as golf and you know he's just been skiing, it's been a yes from me before a no. So it's a mutually supportive relationship.
And Ritu, what in your opinion has been the highlight of your career?
Highlight of my career, apart from winning all the awards and you know going from just being a lawyer to being a businesswoman. And businesswoman has also been not just for my legal firm, but it's been for the talks I do,
of course,
my property interests as well. You know, so it's been for all of that. It's been for the full package, and inspiration to other people. But I suppose the highlight now you're asking is probably when I have made a difference to even one person in the audience, of people who have spoken to, you know, who've listened to me at these conferences. And then one lady or, you know, they'll come up and they'll say, that was really good, it's really made a difference. And then they'll email me and I'll email them back and start mentoring them. That for me, every time has made me happy that I'm giving back. It's not all about me, it's all about what I can do now for the next generation. And now there's a program where they're asking lawyers like myself to become judges. So it's something that we're looking at maybe as being the next step, you know, as to whether it's something that I want to do or whether I still want to carry on with the giving back to society.
So, Ritu, what do you feel is the recipe to your success? Is there a standard formula?
No standard formula. I think everyone who's successful has come their own journey. There's no, you know, do this, this and this and you'll be successful. But just make sure you have a goal so you know where you're heading to, you know where you're going, the direction of your...
But we all have goals. Some people have, I want to be a movie star.
Yeah, but
they,
that's...
you know, that's
okay,
they keep a
but
goal.
there's nothing wrong in saying I want to be a movie star. How are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? Who do you need to meet? Have a strategy, have a business plan. How are you going to get there?
If you could describe what in three describing words, 3 things a successful person needs.
A successful person needs passion for what they want to do. They need a clear plan to what they want to do, and they need it badly enough to do it.
So that desperation
they
needs
need
to be
to have
there.
that desperation. So they know where they're going, they need to be desperate on what they want to do, and they need to have passion, and don't just sit on their laurels thinking it's going to come to them just because they've dreamt it.
Also, Ritu, what we see nowadays, a lot of qualified and educated women, also with professional education, they get married, have children, and then they tend to stay home after they've had kids and want to be a full-time mother. Do you think that perhaps they're wasting their education?
No, not at all. Hats off to them. If they can and they want to be with their children, that's what mothers do best, and they will be good mothers at it, I'm sure. There's nothing wrong in it. It's what they want in life.
But the ones who, of course, you have one set that stays home and looks after the kids.
And my younger sister is a great example of that. She's
the third
stay-at-home mum. Yeah.
Okay, and she's a full-time mom?
Yes, and she's very happy with it. And sometimes I think, good luck to you.
Good luck to you. But the ones who do go out there and work, how do you find, because you've found the right balance, your kids are doing extremely well. How do you find the right balance between being a mom and being a working mother? Do you ever achieve a balance, or is it?
Well, I tell you what, if ever I was in that position, I would be at home first. Home always comes first. My son now is at university, he's 20. My daughter will be going next year. I'll have all the time in the world to focus back on work again. But whilst they've been in the last 10 years, I have basically tried to be there first for them, and then anything else that needs to be done in my profession or my career.
And do you think, Ritu, because you look great, you're in
thank
great
you.
shape, you look great, you're well groomed, do you think how you present yourself is essential to your career?
I think I have a personal interest in looking as best as I can. I wouldn't go as far as great, but just looking the best I can. But no, lawyers don't necessarily all want to look like models because it's not their interest.
Especially if you're a criminal lawyer, usually. All sorts of new problems can start.
Yeah, so you sort of dress for the job, I suppose, to a large degree.
And what would you say being a criminal lawyer can be the highs and lows?
Oh, highs is when you get your client off on a not guilty verdict. Oh, there's nothing that actually beats that feeling, because you feel like you've beaten the system, you've beaten the police, the criminal justice system, the Crown Prosecution Service, you know. And I suppose you have to be a sort of naturally against the establishment to feel that joy of having conquered it. The low is when a client gets off and you know they're guilty, and you know, deep down.
Oh God.
And that's happened a few times, and you just think, what justice is there? Even though, I mean, obviously we can't do anything about it, it's not for us, we've defended him, and he's got a not guilty verdict, when in fact you think he shouldn't have done. And that's when you question the system.
How do you deal with it? Do you deal with the guilt because you were defending him?
No guilt. We've done our job well. That's how we deal with it.
But it doesn't bother a lawyer that there's a guilty person out there who could perhaps commit the same crime again?
It's not for us to have that guilt. It's really for the police to have done their job properly, to have got the conviction that they should have got for a client, for a defendant. So it's not really for us. It's for the judge to have, you know, given the right direction to the jury.
But can you say no to such a case, or you still have to do it?
No, we still have to defend. We have to be totally non-judgmental,
That
totally professional.
must be really difficult, especially if there's a rapist out there or someone like that. How do you deal with that?
You deal with it because it's not for us to convict. We are there to defend.
And do you not get emotionally involved in the case at all?
No, never. I will never get emotionally involved in clients.
It's never been?
No.
It's never no case?
It's unprofessional too. It's totally unprofessional. You wouldn't.
Ritu, you're a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
What attracted you to this particular field?
To become a motivational speaker? It was, again, by default. It was after I won all the awards, and then I was called to speak at the Mayor's Conference, the London Mayor's Conference, on International Women's Day a couple of years ago. And then from that I was asked to do a bigger talk. Then I was asked to come on TV programs and, you know, do motivational speaking. It actually grew from that. It was one, you know, they'd hear me at one event, and International Women's Day comes once a year, and I think I get 4 bookings on that one day, and then obviously some throughout the year. But yeah, it's basically because they need women to speak. There are so few women achievers at the moment, and it's not reflective of how many there should be.
And then how did the TV program come about?
The TV program was a chat show that is similar to this, where we would take a topic that was a current topic to British Asians, such as stop and search rules. Now, stop and search rules would not be applicable to people in India. They wouldn't necessarily be of interest to people here, but it's the British Asian community who were getting stopped. And we had a discussion on that, and I called in some quite high-profile people from the police force, from barristers I know, and we'd talk about something like that. So, and then, you know, people could ring in. So it's really an interactive program about British Asian issues. We talked about drug abuse in our community. Again, quite a difficult topic to talk about.
And controversial topics.
Very controversial, but because I've been defending drug importation, drug dealers.
You were the right person for the show.
So I could, you know, really give a slant on it, and a sort of a lawyer's slant. Then we talk about domestic violence in our community. Again, Asians are terrible at reporting domestic violence in the home. It's all about reputation, what will the neighbours say, what will our parents say.
And all that.
So doing that program got people talking about it, you know, and giving them sort of the domestic violence unit to ring rather than go straight to the police, you know, giving them alternatives that they probably hadn't thought about. So it was all issues to do which were fundamental, I thought, to be discussed, controversial issues. So that show came about from there.
And Ritu, in your legal profession, do you feel that perhaps there are some glass ceilings when it comes to women?
There are, in the legal profession.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I think in the city, I mean, friends of mine who've qualified same time as I have, which is now, 20 years, are not doing as well as they could have been doing. And they feel it, but they don't know what to do about it. They don't know what to say, how to approach it. That glass ceiling has been there, and I think it will be for a while. Until this new generation that we are now bringing into our profession and giving them the confidence to break that ceiling will come to that level.
So what does the future hold for Ritu Sethi?
Future holds much of what I enjoy doing. You know, I think it's just about, well, what do I really want to do this year? And, you know, every New Year's Eve, and I'll just give people an insight. I sit with my children, Avinash and Nikita, who are now 20 and Nikita's 18. For the last 10 years, I would say, we've sat down every New Year's Day and written our goals. And my husband Sudhir will sometimes come, it's mood dependent with him, but every 1st of Jan, we'll 3, if not 4 of us, will sit down and we'll write our goals. My children have had this since they were very young.
So while half the population is nursing a hangover, this is what you're doing.
Well,
now.
After the hangover, we then sit down and say, right, now what do we want this year? So it focuses each one of us. And then we also review last year's list, and they'll tick off out of 10, you know, what they accomplished in the last year. And I'm talking about my children's growing up years, so it would be things like, oh, I want to be a grade 8 in singing, which is what Nikita does. I want to, with my son, he plays the drums and he's played football and, you know, whatever teams he aspires to play for. So it's simple goals that we set as a family, but they have to be academic, they have to be spiritual goals. We set health goals, we set social goals. So we break it all up into 4 or 5 different areas that we want to do.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Please do write a book.
Oh, yes.
It will help many.
That is next, I think, on my list of things to do. And it has been for the last 5 years. It's just getting down to actually writing this book about a wholesome life.
So that's definitely in the cards.
Yes, yes.
Ritu, we are now going to go to our What's on Your Mind round.
Right, okay. Is it
Now,
lunchtime?
We'll get there too. So we're going to give you 2 choices and you have to pick one. Chiseled torso or full set of hair?
Oh, full set of hair.
Sylvester Stallone or Van Damme?
Sylvester Stallone.
Judge or QC?
Judge.
Hollywood or Bollywood?
Bollywood.
Life imprisonment or execution?
Neither, but execution.
100% silk bed sheets or 100% cotton?
Silk. Any day. Black.
Oh, thank you. We got a little insight into Ritu there. Pancake or parathas?
Prontas.
Private jet or yacht?
Yacht.
Shah Rukh Khan or Amir Khan?
Both. Amir Khan.
Amir Khan. Fame or fortune?
Fame.
And our next round is going to be a special talent round.
Okay.
Now, you have a few choices. As we discussed before, you could either impersonate someone.
Okay.
I believe you're very good at it. Or I believe you have a poem maybe you'd like to read for
I
us?
have a poem.
Okay.
Which has been the underlining influence of my life.
Okay.
And I thought this is a great time to share it. It's a long poem. It's by Rudyard Kipling, but I won't read the whole thing.
Okay.
There's a couple of verses which I think are so poignant. So if you don't mind,
No, please
I
go
will just read a couple of verses which I think are so true to me, and hopefully, as I say, they will inspire others. And one of these, the poem's called If, and it goes on to, it starts off, if you can do something and all of this. But there's a couple of lines, which is, if you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those 2 impostors just the same. So that's basically what I was saying earlier, that no matter how great your life could be or how bad it could be, but if you can just meet with both of those and not be fazed by anything, as you said, nerves of steel.
Nerves of steel, yeah.
That's where it comes from. It doesn't matter how bad the situation is or how great it is, treat them both the same and just move on. That's a great quality to have.
Especially for a woman, because usually men are like that.
Yes, just don't be fazed. And then it goes on, and this was very, very relevant to me in my early years. If you can make one heap of your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, which is a game, so you put your winnings all in one pile, like a poker game, and you risk it, and lose, and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. You will be a man, my son, it goes on. But basically, it's about live life for today. And if you lose everything, doesn't matter. Don't go around crying to anyone. Just go back, find it within yourself to start again. And that's how you become a man or a woman, my son.
Thank you so much, Ritu. You know, you have truly inspired me.
Oh, thank you.
And it was so enjoyable speaking to you. You know, I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming to our show.
Thank you as well,
Thank you.
Sadia.
Thank you so much.
God bless.
God bless. Our guest today was Ritu Sethi, a real inspiration, a role model to many young Asian British women. Meet us next week for our next achiever.
Danmirr Consultants and Professional Advice Bureau present Achievers.